stage. How good is she going to be?
Well, to my thinking...
See what happens.
Yeah, to my thinking in that game, Ash Barty looked more composed and more dangerous than Delacqua did. Delacqua's 26 and has had experience in big games. Ash Barty, to me, looked more composed.
It's entirely possible there, too, that Casey was probably trying to carry things a bit there, or felt that she had to. Yeah. And even though Ash could obviously look after herself, if you're 10 years older than your playing partner, it's probably going to be natural that you're going to go out there and try and look after her, especially when she's in her first really big match. Either way, it was a great result, runner-up, and we haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah.
And it puts another one of our players, especially on the female side of things, into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, she seemed, just looking at her surname and that, she's obviously homegrown, Ipswich and that, whereas she's not a girl that's come from a Eastern European country and taken up citizenship. Not criticising that. It's great. We'll take them. If they're good enough to play, especially at Fed Cup level, we'll take them. But it's great to see someone coming through the system and obviously doing well.
Darren, not to be the devil's advocate about this, and I don't know names, so please pull me up, but there has been, in our system, as we've known, we've had terrific junior tennis players, male and female. Now, the thing is, you haven't got a crystal ball in front of you, and you can't tell me that she is going to be the next best thing going around. But where is that happening with our tennis? This is where we tend to break down a lot of the times, Darren, in the fact that we hear about a Wimbledon junior player going on and winning those junior events, but you never see him again. I hope to God this doesn't happen again. Obviously, by the sounds of things and what I saw of the match too, that she is going to be something in years to come. But I just want to know that there has been a lot of times where Australian junior tennis have just gone by the wayside. Why has that happened, Darren? Can you tell me?
Yeah, we just don't back them up. Simple as that. I mean, if we take a look at other countries, when their players come through as juniors, and this was especially so in the Eastern European countries before the Iron Curtain fell, and then when it did, all these girls came out of nowhere, especially the girls. And the girls would be going over and living in Florida and places like that, going to Nick Bollettieri's academy over there.
Is that what she needs to do?
Well, yeah, we need to have a system in place. I know people like Pat Cash and that. He's got a place on the Gold Coast, if memory serves. We need to get behind somebody and have like a national system, because obviously, if there is something going on down at the down in Canberra, we're not seeing any fruits of that labour, so to speak.
All right, so you're saying, Darren, let's identify the talent that we've got in the group, create a scholarship, get them where they've got to be at their best, and let's progress the player as soon as you possibly can.
We need a national tennis centre in that respect, a national tennis school. We need to actually embrace our great players that have come through, get them involved in the game on that side of things, not see them going overseas and coaching somebody else, bring them on board in that respect, and do what most other sports would do in that respect, but tennis has been failing to do for so many years. Hold on to these players, look after them, put money into them, because that's the reality. You've got to put money into them, especially when you're down the bottom of the world and you've got to travel all over the world to play, and just bring these players through, because that's the difference. I mean, we haven't been looking after players down through the years like we should have. And a lot of these kids who go through and win these junior singles titles and that, they're often on their own afterwards, and that's it.
Yeah. Well,
and they've got to keep trying year after year.
We'll have to move on to the women's final in a second, Darren, but while we're on the topic of talented youngsters with Eastern European last names, there's two of them playing off in the boys' final today, two Australians.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, hey, look, like I said before, we'll take them if they're going to be good. We've got to see what comes through. The other thing too is we've got to be a little bit careful with that. I haven't checked up their backgrounds. They could very well be, dinky die, been here for 3 generations or whatever, for all I know.
I'm not accusing anything. I'm just poking fun.
But that is a point we're trying to make, though, here, that
it is.
We need to have a system in place to look after the kids and bring them through, and that hasn't been happening. Now we've got the opportunity to see where a couple of young kids that we've never heard of before have made it through to the junior level of a Grand Slam final. Now, take a look at what's happening in England. England's a good example. Do you think they're not looking after Laura Robson? And I think there's one other young girl over there as well who's done reasonably well in the last couple of years at a junior level. Do you think they're not looking after her? The Brits are screaming out for another great player other than Murray. You know, Hammond was always the guy, but they didn't have anybody on the girls' side of things.
Yeah.
Since probably Virginia Wade or somebody like that.
Yeah, you got a good point there, Darren. A lot of people are going to agree with that. We do here in the studio. We've got to move now to the women's singles final here on Sports Scene on 101 FM. Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley and Darren Madigan at 41 minutes past 8. Lee Na up against the top seed Victoria Azarenka. We'll talk about Lee Na briefly just first. She gave it to Maria Sharapova in the semi-final, 6-2, 6-2. Sharapova was the red-hot favourite going in. She'd pretty much decimated everybody on her way through to the semi-final. And then Lee Na comes out and put on a terrific performance in that semi-final. She was really good, wasn't she?
We're seeing a new Lee Na, thank goodness. She had a wonderful breakthrough season a couple of seasons back where she's gone through, she's won tournaments, she won a slam, she played in a final here in Australia as well against, I think it was Kim Clijsters, wasn't it? She played against, and we saw her come through, and then all of a sudden, if we're to believe the stories, there's been a lot going on in the personal life where the husband was the coach, and that's probably never a good thing to have a family member as your coach. And she's changed all of that. And obviously, we're seeing her come through again. She's having a great start to the year. She'll go from here to one of her favourite surfaces, clay, over in Europe, which is the next stop, I suppose, as far as the slams are concerned. And look, I think she's got to get past Victoria first. I actually think she's a dead set chance to take Victoria tonight. I really do. It's a big call, and it is almost a case of flipping a coin. I'm more worried about whether any of Victoria's so-called injuries are fair income or not.
Well,
she doesn't tend to carry them well.
We got to talk about that. We got to move to that. It's going to be a cracking final, but all the talk the last couple of days has been about Victoria Azarenka and that injury medical timeout she took towards the end of a semi-final against Sloane Stephens. Darren, what did you make of it? A lot of people were quite upset.
Storm in a teacup. She shouldn't have opened her mouth on court. She basically, everybody does it. It's in the rules. If they want to stop it, change the rule. But as far as she just shouldn't have fessed up.
Yeah,
that's because everybody else does it.
Well,
that's the thing.
For those who may not have seen it, it was 5-3 in the second set. She was up. She'd won the first set 6-1. She had 5 match points during that game, and she ended up losing the game, and then took a medical timeout after that to settle herself. And she admitted that at the press conference, it was to settle herself. It wasn't for injuries and things like that. It was to settle herself, and then she came out, won the next game, won the match. I agree, Darren. I think it's been a bit of a storm in a teacup. Like, it's not the greatest thing, but it's within the rules. And let's be honest, it would have been a monumental comeback there for Sloane Stephens to get back and win that game, even without that injury break.
Yeah, look, I just think, we've seen big brickbats to some of the papers yesterday. They were actually comparing what she did with some of the worst cheating side of things in history. People like Ben Johnson and stuff like that. That was disgraceful.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it was nowhere near that bad.
And she's really been built up as a villain going into this final. I guess maybe that's the way they're trying to sell it on. Or Channel 7 are doing it too. Every time they flash up a thing down the bottom, it's the crowd favourite Lee Na up against Scream Queen Victoria Azarenka, stuff like that. It's just how they're building it, and I guess that's the way the media works sometimes, sadly. But I agree with you, Dan. I think it was a little bit overblown, as much as probably not the greatest look, but I think it's been overemphasised exactly what it was. We've got to. Sorry, you go, mate.
They've got to do something to promote it because there's no Serena, there's no
That's
Maria.
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 other players that glamour that they would like to see in the finals. All of a sudden, they've got Vicky playing Na.
Yeah, as much as Victoria Azarenka is the world number 1, the money match would have been Serena up against Maria Sharapova. You're dead set right. But quickly, before we move on to the next segment of the show, I want to talk about Sloane Stephens. A lot of young players have that one moment where they announce themselves to the world on a Grand Slam. Roger Federer did it against Pete Sampras back in Wimbledon. A few other guys, Rafa Nadal, did it here in Australia in a 5-setter. Was that the arrival of Sloane Stephens, that win over Serena Williams, from a set down to come back and win?
You betcha.
Yeah.
And she even looks like her.
Yeah, she does.
She even dresses like her up the other end. I mean, she's obviously, Serena's obviously taken her under her wing. Mm-hmm. We all know that. She is her idol. And Serena has taken that responsibility and taken her under her wing. And they're apparently very good friends. And look, I think this is something we need in women's tennis, to see a young girl like this come through,
Yeah.
and the Americans need it badly, and they're loving it.
Yeah, she's got a big personality as well, which I love. I love big personalities in sport.
You hit the nail on the head, mate. She's she's arrived.
Yeah, she has.
She's arrived with that match against Serena. I don't think there's any question about that.
We've got to go to a break, but quickly before we do, we've got to get the tip. Victoria Azarenka or Li Na, Darren?
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with Na. I'm going to say Li Na to
I'm
win
with you.
in 3.
Yep.
With him.
You as well, Craig?
Yep.
I'm going to tick Victoria Azarenka. I'm going to go with the top seed. She won it last year. I think she'll be able to do it again, but it's going to be a cracking final. Make sure you're watching that one tonight. We'll go to a break. When we come back, we've got some cricket to talk about.
The Greenbank RSL is holding a great family fun day on Australia Day, commencing from 12 midday with activities for children in the Memorial Gardens and entertainment throughout the club for the adults. Contact our sponsor, the Greenbank RSL Club, on 38007746 for more details.
Bang, Greenbank, the club that gives you something back.
Get ready for summer. Call our sponsor Thompson Cooling on 1300 852 869 to have your air conditioner serviced and be assured of clean, efficient and economical air conditioning in your home or office. Thompson Cooling will also design and install a new air conditioning system to suit your requirements. Interest-free finance available. Thompson Cooling, the Dakin air conditioning specialist, serving the Logan community. Phone 1300 852 869.
Did you know that 101FM provides a free service to Logan community groups to promote their services and information? Help us to maintain this service by pledging your donation now by phoning 3808 1101. Thank you from the original voice of Logan City, 101FM.
Having a party or barbecue at your house this Saturday night? Make sure you tune in to Saturday Night Party Mix from 7 p.m. on your station 101 FM. 101 FM.
Now it's back to Saturday Sports Scene on 101 FM.
Yes, welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Darren Madigan taking you through all the big issues in sports. 12 minutes to 9. That will be your next fresh news update right at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour. It's time to talk a bit of cricket, guys. Through the week, Australia, we had a rain out of the fourth, a washout of the fourth one-day international, which was unfortunate. But in the fifth ODI, we got a win, which is good. We tied up the series 2-2 and ended up against Sri Lanka. Australia 5 for 247 they posted that score, and then Sri Lanka in reply all out for 215. Australia win by 32 runs. It was really all about Phil Hughes that day, 138 not out from 154 deliveries. He was terrific. Very, very good performance. Nobody else could really find their way with the bat on that tough pitch down there in Tasmania. But, yeah, he was outstanding, Phil Hughes.
Yeah, he's... You watch him play, and it's probably he's more suited to the 50 over the game because of his sort of technique-wise isn't 100%, but his eye and what he's done with his batting over the last couple of years, obviously, first of all, to get his recall into the Australian side was sensational, but he hits the ball hard, and you hear a lot of the commentators, they always say, you know, like, if you hit the ball hard, they've got to be caught, and he doesn't hold back. He really has a crack at it. He does. I think when he was playing cricket earlier, he was a bit more of a glider player where he just tried to shape the ball around the ground. Now he's really aggressive, and when he hits the ball, it stays hit. Like I said, I still reckon there's some flaws in his technique, and whether the opposition pick at that, I don't know, but look, you can't fault it. You know, 200s. I think he was the most the most runs in the one-day series.
He did.
You know, that's a great effort.
It is. We're going to look, before we go on to the T20s, which we'll talk about tonight, the game being played tonight against Sri Lanka again, we got another ODI series coming up against the West Indies starting next week. The side for the first two have been picked. No real changes except for one. David Hussey has been dropped in favour of Aaron Finch. So they're bringing in the young guy who's been killing it in all the domestic scenes. He was unlucky in his only 2 appearances for Australia so far, 16-4 he got. But it's a big call to leave out an experienced, proven performer like David Hussey. Don't you think, Darren? It's a big call, especially given all the other youth in the side.
I think it's showing consistency from the selectors this season. I mean, if you take a look at the way they've been going, I mean, it's Look, 35 years of age, I still think that's harsh. I mean, the guy's scoring runs. I'd still like to see him replacing his brother in the Test side myself. But I think they've got a lot to answer for this summer when it comes to